Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. This movie is directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who previously directed Jack Reacher as well as Mission Impossible films 5, 6, and 7. This movie stars Tom Cruise, Esai Morales, and Haley Atwell. Now, this movie is a continuation of the previous film, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Now, the plot is about IMF agent Ethan Hunt attempts to stop the cyber being known as the Entity, as well as trying to save the world. Now, going into this movie, I was really excited because I've really enjoyed the last four Mission Impossible movies, and the previous film was setting up this, the biggest villain that this franchise, or really any franchise, has had to deal with. AI, this cyber being that could infiltrate computers. I mean, we haven't seen a villain like this since Ultron in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie. So this was a big bad threat, and I knew it was going to be the final Mission Impossible movie, fingers crossed. So I was really intrigued how they were going to wrap everything up and how they were going to outdo all the stunts that Tom Cruise has done previously, and my general feeling was excitement. Now, did this movie give us legacy moments that honor past events? Did this movie give us crazy, spectacular stunts? And did this movie give us the ending to this story they started in the previous film? Well, they gave us two of those things. Now, overall, I enjoyed this movie, but it's not without its problems, because I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan. And yes, I like the one that a lot of people seem to hate. So, I've watched Mission Impossible since '96, since the first one, and I've seen every single movie, and I was real intrigued where the character of Ethan Hunt was going to go in this movie, what he was going to do. Were they going to pull a No Time to Die with James Bond and make a bold move like that? Or were they going to have Ethan Hunt pass the torch in this film? So I was real curious. Now, let me start with the acting in this movie. Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. This is one of those roles where, nobody else could play this type of character. Now, if you're not familiar with the Mission Impossible TV show or the movies, Ethan Hunt is an original character that was made up. Instead of it being a group with all these different characters with different abilities, Ethan Hunt was kind of like the jack of all trades. He's like the American James Bond. He's the guy that can do it all. And after the first two movies, Mission Impossible kind of evolved after the third one, which has a different feeling. And then the movie slowly became like the Fast and the Furious franchise, where they went globe-trotting on these adventures, they had all these different characters involved, and the stunts just got bigger and better. Here, in this movie, Ethan Hunt has reached S-tier level. He has now become like Dominic Toretto in the Fast and Furious movies, where he's not only the main character, but he's like the only one that can solve all the problems, and he can do it without breaking a sweat. It's almost like he's, a superhero in this movie. He can do everything. Now, granted, if he couldn't, we wouldn't have a movie. And yeah, there are some moments where, Ethan Hunt does get beat up and he does take his lickings, but here he's the one man that everyone looks up to and idolizes, which was a little much, because if you look at the first movie, he was just another member of the team. But now he's elevated his status quite a bit. So that took me out of the movie a little bit. Now, I knew it was Ethan Hunt from the other movies. His hairstyle has changed. But this is the first time I was like, man, Ethan Hunt's looking old. But Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt. He did a fine job. The way they used his character I thought was a little OP, but Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt. So he was fine. Simon Pegg returns as Benji. He has now become a staple of the group ever since we saw him introduced in Mission Impossible 3. He's really good. It's good to see him. Now, this movie also has a lot of characters and a lot of actors. If you go back and look at the lineage of these movies, these films have included people like Brendan Gleeson, Alec Baldwin, Vanessa Kirby, and those are just the supporting characters. This movie has so many people in it. Hope McNally shows up. Nick Offerman. Angela Bassett. There's a lot of people in this movie. Granted, some of them play important roles, but others are just there. And that brings me to two of the members of the new group. One of them is played by Pom Klementieff. She was in Guardians of the Galaxy. She played Mantis. She's the blonde assassin in the previous film. There, she was this character that had this storyline where you're like, ooh, where's it going to go next? But here, aside from this one scene in a prison hallway, she's just the one in the group that repeats everything they say in French. Like, we have to go to the submarine. Oui, submarine. And that was only her role in this movie. And then also, once the beginning of the film happens, there's this actor who's a cop who just stays with the group. He has no affiliation with them. He has no reason to be part of the group, but he's just with the group throughout the movie. It's like Ethan Hunt has become Goku in Dragon Ball Z, where all of his enemies are just like hanging out with him now all of a sudden. They're just all cool, which is a little weird. There's a subplot involved with the character named Kittredge, who's from the previous film and the first movie, which was nice to see, as well as Shea Wingham's character. And there's a nice reveal with that character that I appreciated, but a little unnecessary. It's like they didn't have anything for Shea Wingham's character to do, so they just kept him around for a certain aspect of the movie, which I liked. It added to the legacy moments in this movie, which is my biggest positive from this film. It involves characters, elements, scenarios, events that they bring up from the past that you're like, oh, I didn't think they were going to have any gravity or any importance to this plot, and some of them do. Others are just highlights in a highlight reel that say, oh yeah, that happened. But here, we get some characters that return from the past, which is really interesting. Some of them were very surprising. Very surprising. And, it had moments that paid tribute to Ethan Hunt, the main character. And I like things in movies where characters remember instances or events or characters that they can kind of reminisce on. I just like that because it continues a continuity in the universe. Another thing I really liked about this movie was, in the middle and towards the end, we get some of the most insane stunts involving the air with two planes and underwater in the sea. The submarine sequence looked beautiful. It was great. There's a little continuity thing after that scene's over where you're like, what? How? Okay, just turn your brain off. But the scene in the air with the planes, wow. Wow. Tom Cruise, you're crazy. But those scenes were spectacular. Now, an issue I had with this movie is that it doesn't exactly feel like the previous film. I know it's the part 2. I know it's the conclusion of that storyline. But the villain in this movie, Isai Morales, he was calm and collected in the first one. He was this mysterious being that could communicate with the entity. But here, he's more human than he was in the previous film. Here, he panics, he runs, he laughs like a, silly comic book villain. He's just a little over the top, and it just doesn't feel like the same character that it was in the previous movie. And his whole finale with Ethan, even though it's spectacularly looking, it just, the way they finished that character was like, really? That's it? Come on. Also, this movie is very long. Very long. 3 hours long, and you can feel it. There's a lot of interactions and characters they could have omitted from this movie. You didn't have to fit everyone in this film, guys. There's a lot of scenes where Ethan will be sent to one location. He'll get the information he needs. This person won't exactly trust him, but then he'll convince them or do something that'll make them go, you know what? This guy's great. Go get him, Ethan Hunt. And there's moments like that, rinse and repeat, where Ethan goes somewhere, someone gives him what he needs, and then he goes to the next part of the mission. And it's like, are we furthering the plot, or are we just trying to get into all these cameos and all these different actors that we can? It's a little weird. Also, this movie is not really fun. Aside from the action set pieces, this movie is like everyone's walking on eggshells, like the end of the world is right around the corner. Granted, it is, because this thing's about to wipe out the world, but there's no fun in this movie. There are a couple jokes, but it's all seriousness. And you kind of want that fun, that levity from a movie like this. But here, we didn't really get that. Also, I kind of feel like the ending of the movie didn't give us the, let me rephrase that. A lot of the movies have kind of ended just like the Transformers movies and Fast and the Furious movies have, where you get a character giving this monologue, all this dialogue about, family, togethership, brotherhood, teamwork, the mission, this collective unity of all these characters, happy, smiling, laughing. But here you don't really get that. So it kind of makes me wonder, is this going to be the final send-off for the IMF team? We'll see in the future. Yeah, so this movie had a bunch of good legacy moments. It had really two spectacular action sequences, but it was a serious plot, and it doesn't exactly feel like the previous film. And so because the story was continued, some of the characters are back, but it feels like it's a separate movie, it being a continuation and the final chapter in the Mission Impossible legacy, I enjoyed it. But unfortunately, this movie is not my favorite. It's probably not even in my top 5. So it was nice to see Ethan Hunt again, but again, the movie just felt too different and a little underwhelming. So because of that, I'm going to give Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning a B-. Till next time, guys. See ya.